Okay, this is the video for the first part of 3.2, which is statements and negations. And you can see it's been posted in the modules here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it and eventually make it full screen. So full screen, and then I'm also going to turn on the laser pointer. All right, so there's your title here. The first thing here is just a picture I found on the internet, so it's not in the book, but on the left side you see forms of statements that could be said. Like you could say that all are doing something, or none are, some are not. So in order to negate something, you're basically proving it wrong. Now, if you want to prove that this is wrong, this all are, you don't have to prove that everything isn't. Because this person is saying, let's say they're saying all students go to bed at 9 o'clock at night. Okay? You don't have to prove that every student doesn't go to bed at 9. All you have to do is prove that at least one does. Okay, so that's why it's some. Over here, none are. So no students go to bed at 7 p.m. Well, maybe you could find someone who did. Maybe they were sick or something, because 7's awfully early. Okay, so that's the basic idea there. But I'm going to go on. Now, statements involving all. Now, normally this would be the note-taking, but I do have a limit on the amount of time I can do on this recording, so I'm not going to stop for you to write. So if you want to write anything, you'll have to pause the video. So first off, the word logic talks about the study of the rules and terms that are used to make persuasive arguments. When you're making those arguments, you make statements, and a statement is a declarative sentence that is either true or false. Now, just because you're making a statement does not mean it's necessarily true or false, and sometimes people will say something that they know is false because they're trying to get you to think something. An argument, then, is a string of two or more statements that imply another statement. And I have an example for you next. So, as an example of an argument, I have a couple statements. One, all types of fruit are food. Okay, I'm not saying that that's true or false. I'm just saying that. Okay, so you can believe me or not. That's up to you. All types of fruit are food. My second statement says, tomatoes are a type of fruit. Once again, I'm not telling you that's true, and I'm not telling you it's false. I'm just giving you a statement. So then in this argument, since I'm saying that all fruit are food and also tomatoes are fruit, I can then conclude here with tomatoes must be food or are food. So that would be an example of an argument. Now in this lesson, let me just keep on going here. I forgot I put the study tip in here. Examples, more examples of logical terms that you could use. These are words: and, or, not, true and false, if, therefore, every, some, at least one, and all. Now in this section, you're going to see how we can use set diagrams to analyze statements. In the next section, which will be sometime next week, you will learn rules for writing logical arguments. And in the section after that, which will take us right to the end of April, 3.4, you'll learn to recognize illogical arguments, things that just don't make sense. All right, our first little thing here, we're taking a look at this picture here, and that's supposed to be, it looks like Benjamin Franklin seated on the left, and I think the guy on the right is supposed to be Thomas Jefferson, but it says here the Declaration of Independence was written primarily by Thomas Jefferson and adopted by the Continental Congress on July 4th, 1776. It announced that the 13 American colonies were no longer part of the British Empire. The document uses logic to justify a person's right to abolish a government that denies them basic human rights. So we're going to use some of this. So we're going to analyze a statement involving all. So we are going to, on the left it says, use a set diagram to analyze the statement taken from the Declaration of Independence on the right. So you've probably heard this before, and I'll read it here. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, there are several ways that you could do a set diagram with this, and I do include several here. So one, you could have a set here, which represents creatures. This would represent creatures or animals that have a right to life, and then inside that you have all people. Doing it the same way, you could do another one for liberty and another one for the right to pursue happiness. Now, your book points out that this does imply that it's possible that there are other creatures or animals that also have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is an interesting concept if you want to talk about animal rights. Okay, so notice it's not just people, it's implying that there's other creatures too. Now, there's a couple other ways you could do this. Maybe a simpler way, you could just list a thing of rights of all people, and in this box, I have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and it implies here that there are other rights, but we just don't list them all. So the blue areas here would be other rights. So that's just a different way to do this. All right, continuing on, we're now going to use a set diagram to analyze the 10th Amendment in the Bill of Rights. And that reads, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Now, this is not a very long sentence, but it's caused lots of debate over the last 200 years. And it also is one of the things that was fought about leading to the Civil War about 70 years after the country was founded, because people said it really is saying that it's giving a lot of power to the states. If the Constitution doesn't specifically say it's just for the U.S. Constitution and for the government itself. So basically, if you want to analyze this, you can really think of this as talking about 4 different categories or types of power. So federal government powers, that would be, Washington, D.C., the rules that they can set. But number 2, it's also referring to prohibited powers because it talks about prohibited things to the states and to everyone else, so things that you can't do. Number 3 talks about powers that are just for the states, and number 4, just for individuals or people. So that's just a listing on the left, and on the right, here it is more of a set diagram. So in this one, you have all the powers, and you have those 4 examples with some examples in there. Like only the federal government, the country itself, can print money. You don't have money printed by the state of California or the city of Long Beach. Only the whole government can do that. Now, as an example of power that is denied everyone in the whole country, we can't own slaves. That's been the case since, it depends on when you want to think about it, but basically the Civil War. Given powers to the states to issue marriage licenses, for example. That's not the federal government that does that, or even the city. It's a state. And then finally, individuals have the power to speak freely and to exercise your own religious beliefs. So those are examples there. All right, here's another one that we're going to take a look at. And I had to think long and hard about this, and I actually took their answer and made it to something I like a little bit more. But basically it says here that people that live in this apartment building agree that they're going to pay $20 for every month that they have a pet. If they find a pet that is not registered, they're going to presume that it is a stray and dispose of it. And sometimes that means putting it to sleep, sometimes that means taking it to an animal shelter, depends on where you live. It also then says if they find out that you've had a pet, they're going to go ahead and charge you for the whole time you've lived there. And it doesn't matter if you just got it. They're going to say, well, you've lived here for 5 years. Since we don't know when you got the pet, we're going to assume you had it all 5 years. and charge you. All right, so here is how they decided to do this one. So notice they have the universal set, which is pets on the property. Okay, now I don't really like how they did this one, but I'll explain that on I changed this on the next screen. So they're saying pets on property, and they have this group here of strays. This whole group is strays, and they also have this group is disposed of. So to me, this means you've got this large group of strays right here that are not going to be disposed of because they're not caught, basically. Okay? There are strays that maybe are good at hiding, and that's why they're strays. This is your disposed of. Some of them are strays, but this is one of the reasons why I don't quite like this. If it's disposed of right over here, but not a stray, I really think it should be unregistered right here. And then they put this box up here. So I really don't like their answer. I don't agree with it. So I changed it a little bit. Here's my version. I took the name of pets on property, I changed it to animals on the property, and I put it above, meaning everything inside this whole thing represents an animal on the property. And I got rid of this one entirely, okay? And then basically I thought, all right, everything outside of these two ovals is a stray, okay? In this one, this is basically pets. This whole oval is pets. This part of it would be registered pets. This part is unregistered pets. And it's also pets that are at risk of being disposed of or caught. And then also in this lighter section would be strays that are caught. So, you know, maybe someone could argue that this one's not perfect either, but I didn't like the first one, so this one made more sense to me. Your book also gives online a decision tree, which you can also take a look at. Now, that's the end of this video right here, so let me see if I can quickly kind of keep this all together into one thing. So this is what the homework assignment is going to look like. There's 8 questions, and I've gone ahead and just given you a set diagram, and I've asked you to identify usually what's inside. So like in this one, I say, what could be put in the A circle if the universal set is content and information that you own? So you go to the page and then read the question, and then, you know, it should be obvious. I'm basically telling you what this is out here, and you're just going to list in what's inside. And as you can see, I got creative with some of this. I found a website that lets me do some fancier ones. So there's one of the fancier ones right there. And then this one took some time to do. This one was just kind of annoying to me, but I took the book's answer, scribbled it out, and labeled it A through G, and see if you can come up with what the labels might be. All right? So that is what the assignment is to do this, and that's about it. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and close this off and post it, and see you all soon. Bye-bye.